Okay, so let's get this into vertex form. Again, we can just write out this equation. Now, in this case, we have a -2 out front there, so that makes it a little bit different. Let's factor out that -2. So we'll take the -2, and that leaves us with our x squared. Now, we'll do like we did before, where we'll have the first part in brackets. Now, -2 times what gives us our -12x? Well, that would be -6x. And so -2 times -6 is 12. Yep. And we bring in the x there. Great. So that's where we're at there. We'll put the -13. And again, at this point, we haven't changed anything. The -2x squared is there. -2 times -6x makes plus 12x. And then -13 out at the end. Everything looks good. So we can stop and say, how are we going to make this a perfect square? Well, again, -6 divided by 2 is -3. -3 squared is +9. Okay? And so we do have to deal with some stuff out here because we just brought a 9 into the equation. But let's go to the next step with that in our mind. We do have to come back for that. And we can say -2x -3 squared. Now let's just double check that we did that right. X squared for the first term. Sure, we've got that. -3 times x and 2 of those, which would make -6x. Okay, good. And -3 times -3 is 9. Okay, so the perfect square worked out great. Okay, now we added a 9, so we might be tempted to just bring a 9 in or subtract a 9 out at the end, but we have to remember that -2. So by bringing the 9 into our equation, we've effectively brought in a -18 because -2 times our 9 is -18. So that 9 there brings more to the equation than just 9 because of that 2 out in front of the brackets. So we've effectively subtracted 18. So we're going to have to add 18. So a little bit of a thought process there, but bottom line is whenever we bring a number into the equation, we have to counter it in order to keep that equation equal. Now, when we have a number out front, we have to say, well, bringing in the 9, effectively, we've brought in -18. So that's how we think that went through. Now we say, okay, -13 and +18 is just +5. And there we go. So we have it in vertex form, and we can go and let's draw a graph there. So we have x and we have y. Now, we're going to look at this and we're going to say we move to the right 3, 1, 2, 3, and we move up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and find that intersection point here. And so that intersection point will be our vertex 3 and 5. All right, and we know that the parabola is a little bit skinnier coming down, and we could stop and we could say in the previous one we got the x-intercepts, which is nice to show a couple extra points. It's not going to work out very nice with this. We could make y equals 0 and solve for the x in that case, but I can see it's not going to come out to be round integers, so I check back and it was just basically sketching the graph. So we're going to leave it with 1 point identified. So bottom line is always identify the vertex when you're asked to sketch a graph. And then if the x-intercepts are things that are easy to see, then great. If they're going to take a bunch of steps, then you may check to see exactly how much detail you figure is needed for that answer. But for this case, this looks solid.